Okay, so what we need to do first is take the back wheel off right here. In this case, it's a track, not a wheel. On the other bike, it's actually a wheel itself. You'll see this one's going to be a little bit difficult because the wheel actually has sort of this hub around it that has a little detail to it. We'll have to cut that off with the knife. So we're going to start with the Dremel tool, and we've got to do this 4 times. So we're doing this to 2 different chassis, and of course they have 2 sides each. I think sometimes it's good to just get a piece out of the way like that. Okay, so now that we've cut the 4 tires off, we just have to kind of clean up where we've done that, because the Dremel tool melts through this plastic more than cuts through it. So you end up with a lot of bits that just need to be sort of chipped away. And you'll see this one here, there's a lot of the sort of the edging of the track left, so you just got to cut that off, and it just kind of pops away. Yes, and as a safety tip, you want to make sure you're cutting away from yourself as often as possible, preferably all the time, but yes, be as safe as possible. This one, you can see how much of this just melted away here. We're going to break that off. Alright, now once you've got that done, you just want to take a regular hobby file with a flat side and just sort of clean up the edges we've done. Not that orcs particularly care about clean edges, but we as modelers tend to. Now actually I'm using the curved side of this file as well, because this one has sort of a rounded wheel well. And we're just going to do a trial fit of our different bike pieces here and see if they line up okay. Yeah, you can see here now, matches closely enough for what we're going to be doing, because this will all be covered up in the end. Yes, I realize I'm not using GW plastic glue. And just hold that for about 15 seconds, and we'll repeat with the second bike. Just line it up and hold it for about 15 seconds. Okay, now we're going to add the embellishment as it is to the front of each bike. Okay, we'll let that one sit. And now we're not going to attach anything to the front end yet down in here, because we are going to mount the weapons that place. Both bikes have a gear assembly that sort of gets attached to the sides and would spin the back wheel if they had one. They don't, so we're going to just kind of cut this down a little bit to give it the appearance that it's not trying to spin something that doesn't exist. This one's going to be a little bit tricky because it normally would mount to a piece that we've just recently cut off, so we're just going to have to kind of hold it in position and glue it by hand. So I'm actually just going to do this one with our trusty plastic clippers. It's a pretty minor edit. And actually this whole little sort of down-hanging piece is not really functional at this point, so we'll just cut it right off. When you're cutting this close to your fingers, be very careful. So now we're just going to attach the side pieces here to the frame. They're kind of necessary because they sort of form where the feet go on a few of the different bikes. And just hold that for a few seconds. I'll do the other bike while we wait for that one. Now this is the tricky piece. We have really nothing to attach it to. Leave that alone, go back to the first bike, and we can attach the other piece now. Now this is starting to look a fair bit bikier at this point, only lacking wheels. And those are both ready to just sit for a few minutes and dry.
Suplex them and it smashes their head.
I don't remember doing that.
It smashes their head. You just like save so many bullets.
What system were you playing it on?
Yes, sir.
I'm recording right now. Apparently. So, in case anyone's wondering, Dave and I are having a discussion about Resident Evil 4 at the moment, and that'll probably get cut out. Okay, next I'm going to mount the gun inside where the front wheel would go. And just to give that a good fit, I'm going to mix up just a little bit of green stuff to fill in these grooves right here and right here. Here we go. And we're just going to take a little bit of super glue and apply it to the green stuff on both sides. Now we have our weapon mounted and glued in place, and we're going to let that dry for a little bit. Okay, next we're going to quickly assemble just our driver's legs and his torso. We don't need the whole driver here yet, but we do need to be able to kind of see what part of the bike he's going to be taking up when he sits. So it's kind of important to have him here now. Just a little bit of glue to hold him in there once we get him set. I find the bike riders you really have to kind of squeeze in place. They don't really like to sit that far down on the bike without a little coaxing. Okay, so we're basically going to do two more things to customize the bike at this point before we just assemble the rest of it. First, we're going to add a piece in here, what we're going to cut this out of is a piece of round plastic tube to give sort of a jet engine impression to it. And we're going to add a wing coming out both sides here. Probably a bit of an angle because it looks really good that way. And we're going to add those out of plasticard. So we're going to show you how to make those next. Okay, so this is the round plastic tube. We actually got this from Model Builder Supply. We're going to use this just to cut a little piece off to go in as a jet engine. So we're going to cut probably about this much off and then sort of add about a 45-degree angle just to fit in there. So start with the Dremel tool. Okay, so we've now got our jet engine piece here cut, and basically you're just going to see that's going to snap in right about there, and just get glued into place, and takes the place of the back wheel. So we'll just apply a little super glue in here. There, so our jet engine's in place. We'll embellish that a little bit with the plasticard afterwards. And then our next step here is to add some wings, and they'll attach here and here coming out the sides, and we'll also be cutting them from plasticard. Okay, so we have two different thicknesses of plasticard. This is the 1.5 millimeter thickness. We're going to use this for the main parts of the wings as well as anything we need to kind of hold them in place because it's really sturdy. This is 0.5 millimeter plasticard. It's very light and flexible. You can pretty much cut this stuff with scissors. Don't recommend it, but it is that thin. And we'll use this for any extra details we want to add, like Ork emblems or just welded on patches of metal, because it's going to be a lot thinner. So you don't want to stack up 3 of these just to make a weld plate or anything like that. So you can see this is just like much thinner, much more flexible. Okay, so we're just going to design our wing right now. We want it to sort of follow some of the contours of the bike, and we want it to come out a little bit so there's room for the pilot, and have it come back a little bit. Now, Sharpies don't seem to like plasticard all that much, but nothing else marks them at all, so let's try that about there. And we'll bring this back in. Okay, so we're going to cut that shape out of the plasticard, and then try and fit it in. We'll use the Dremel tool to cut that. Okay, so we have our 2 wings cut out of plasticard, and they're going to fit right in the back of the model here, just like so, and we'll glue them in place, one on each side. We just pop that in place and hold it. Want it to be flush against this top piece. There we go. And we'll do the same thing on the other side. Just get a little super glue here. There we go. We now more or less have the beginnings of a jet bike. So next we'll start adding some embellishments to the wings and completing building the driver and then putting it on a flying base. Alright, so what we've done is I've cut the wings down a little bit. They were about this wide before and just looked way too big. And we just added some vertical fins just to sort of make it look like it might actually fly. It probably won't, but that's beside the point. What we're going to do next is just add a little bit more embellishment to the wings, basically just some panels, some rivets, and then we're going to make this jet engine look a little bit better because right now it's pretty boring piece of bike. So what we've done now is we just added on some sort of Orky implements to make first of all, make the jet engine look more jetty, dangerous, and then just random patches of metal onto the wings. Next, we're going to add some rivets onto those to make them look like they've been riveted in place rather than glued in place. So to make rivets, what we use is our trusty X-Acto knife, and this is just a thin rod of essentially the exact same stuff, the plasticard, and all we do is cut off really tiny little slices of this stuff, and yeah, they kind of fly all over the place. You have to sort of gather them up once you've caught them. And you just keep repeating this process over and over until you have about 30 or 40 of these little things. Okay, and now we have the wings with the rivets just attached to each of the metal panels just to give it a more finished look. So our last job here is just to finish constructing the driver and put this thing on a base and prime it. So actually what we're going to do though, I'm going to magnetize this to its base so it's easy to remove. Makes for packing into the Army cases a little bit better. So we're going to drill a hole right here, install a 3/16 magnet, and then it'll pretty much be done.
Green stuff. That's right. Make your miniatures awesome. Convert them with green stuff at greenstuffit.com. And it's ridiculously awesomely inexpensive to buy. So go out and get some.